Hey everybody, this is TJR. Happy Valentine's Day. And about a month ago, roughly, I posted a question. I did it on the YouTube community board, and I also posted a video asking the question. And the question was, what do you think are the best love songs of all time? And I asked people to name at least two. You could name more, but I was only going to look at your top two as far as voting, and I'll talk more about that in a moment because I didn't say anything about voting in my video. But I asked you to just name your top two. If you wanted to name more, go right ahead. And feel free to say whatever you wanted about these songs, And the reason I did this is, one, I just thought it would be really cool to read everybody's comments and see what everybody said and hear some of the stories. And it was cool. I read every single comment, and it was a joy to read them. But I also said that I would use these comments in a video that I was going to make for Valentine's Day. And so this is that video. So first of all, nothing says romance like hardcore numbers. And so first, I wanted to talk a little bit about what you all voted as the best love songs of all time. You probably didn't realize you were voting, but I sat and I looked at all of the comments, and I started keeping a score of them. Now, there were tons of suggestions. Songs that, of course, I knew, was very familiar with, and that I thought, yeah, those are definitely some of the best love songs ever. And songs that I've never heard of before, and songs that I had actually forgotten I knew. And the moment I pulled them up on Tidal, it was like, oh, wow, I haven't heard that in forever. So the first thing I thought I'd do is I'm just going to talk about the songs that got more than one vote. And I realize none of this is scientific. I mean, this is just those who participated in the comments section of my community post and this video. And so let's talk about those first. I think this is kind of interesting. There were certainly some surprises here. And there were certainly some that I say definitely. So first of all, getting 2 votes each. In other words, at least 2 commenters mentioned these songs. And we have New York, New York by Ryan Adams. 2 votes. Interesting. I never would have thought of that song. Adore by Prince. 2 votes. Your Song by Elton John. A real favorite of mine. 2 votes. I would have thought that one would have gotten more. And I did double check all the comments. I could have missed something, but I would have thought that would have gotten more. But Elton John, Your Song. Can't Help Falling in Love by Elvis. Great, great song. 2 votes. Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You. 2 votes. And Love by John Lennon. 2 votes. And that last one, I remember one of my strongest memories of that song is seeing it sung by a priest in church. And he thought it was a song that perfectly described everything that love is about, the emotion of love. And it was interesting to see a priest perform that song in a church. It always has stuck in my mind. Getting 3 votes each, we have, interestingly enough, 3 songs. 3 songs got 3 votes. First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, 3 votes. Now, what was interesting is that different commenters who brought up this song had different renditions of that song in mind. And so I welcome you to check out those comments and read about the different renditions. In My Life by the Beatles, 3 votes. I don't think I would normally think of that as a love song, but it is, but it's just not one I would think of first. Maybe I'm Amazed by Paul McCartney, 3 votes. Maybe I'm Amazed one of McCartney's best solo songs ever. A song that I actually covered and released. I recorded a piano instrumental version of it. It's out there on Apple Music and Spotify and Tidal. Anyways, just thought I'd bring that up. Getting 5 votes each. Oh, by the way, there was nothing that got only 4 votes. It goes from 3 to 5. And getting 5 votes each are 1 by the Beatles and 1 by John Lennon. Something by the Beatles, 5 votes, of course, off of Abbey Road by George Harrison. Great song. I think I read somewhere that Frank Sinatra called it the greatest love song ever written. He thought it was one of the greatest love songs ever written. Woman by John Lennon, 5 votes. You know, it is a great song, but for some reason, that one just would not have come top of mind. And seeing that really kind of brought it top of mind with me. Then we didn't get any artists that got 6 votes, but there were 2 songs that got 7 votes each. And maybe I should say mentions and not votes, but whatever. But there were 2 songs that got mentioned 7 times. And those 2 are Here and There and Everywhere by the Beatles, 7 votes off Revolver. God Only Knows by the Beach Boys, 7 votes off of Pet Sounds. And God Only Knows, of course, well, these are both great songs, but what I thought was interesting about these 2 songs getting the most votes is there's quite a unique bit of symmetry or synchronicity, whatever word you want to use, between these 2 songs. First of all, God Only Knows from Pet Sounds, Brian Wilson was very much influenced by the Beatles, by what they did with Rubber Soul, and definitely wanted to do his musical response and top them. And so he released Pet Sounds. And God Only Knows is a song that Paul McCartney calls one of the greatest songs in the world. What's interesting is that there is an interview with McCartney that I've read where he talks about being at a listening party for Pet Sounds and being so impressed with it that it influenced him to write Here and There and Everywhere. Three, two, one. So finally, we didn't get any songs that got 6 votes, but there were 2 songs that got 7 votes. Maybe I should say mentions and not votes, but whatever. Beyond that, there was nothing that got 8 or 9 or 10. That's kind of where it stops. And so here are the 2 songs that got 7 votes each. First, Here and There and Everywhere by the Beatles, off Revolver, with 7 votes. Then, God Only Knows by the Beach Boys, with 7 votes. These are both great songs, of course. But what was interesting about just these 2 songs, the fact that these 2 songs got the most mention, is there's an unusual bit of synchronicity between them. When Brian Wilson recorded Pet Sounds and the song God Only Knows, he was very influenced by the Beatles at this point. He very much wanted to do his own musical response to what they were doing. And he wanted to see if he could top them. So he recorded Pet Sounds. He produced it. And of course, God Only Knows is a song that Paul McCartney has referred to as one of the greatest songs of all time. And in an interview I read where he mentioned he went to a listening party for the Pet Sounds album when it was first released and was very impressed. And when the Beatles were recording Here and There and Everywhere, he was very much influenced by God Only Knows and Pet Sounds, and that it was one of the main influences when he wrote Here and There and Everywhere. Interesting bit of synchronicity, I thought. So those are the top songs as voted by you, the viewing audience, in your comments. And now I wanted to take a moment and I wanted to now just talk about some of your comments. There were a lot of comments, as I said earlier, and I loved reading them all. Reading your comments was like a journey because it made me think back on other songs. It made me discover songs I hadn't heard before, and it allowed me to remember songs I'd forgotten. So I'm going to just read a handful of them here. I can't read them all. I read them all, though, but I can't read them all here in this video. Otherwise, we'd be here all day. But let me go ahead here. I'm going to start here with a comment by Paul Sheeran. And if I mispronounce anybody's name, sorry, but hopefully I say the names right. Paul Sheeran writes, Billy Joel, Just the Way You Are, and he lets me know it's from the album The Stranger from 1977, which is an album that I own. And Leo Sayer, When I Need You, from the album Endless Flight in 1976, which I don't own. And Just the Way You Are by Billy Joel. What can I say? But just what a wonderfully honest song that is. Just so pure in its honesty. And a beautiful love song. Not overly sentimental or syrupy, yet tremendously sentimental and syrupy. It's a great feat that he accomplishes with that song lyrically. Then, the Leo Sayer song, When I Need You. When I first read that, I thought, I don't think I've ever heard this before. But then I played it, and I thought, oh, that's right. I had forgotten this song. It had been decades since I'd heard it. In fact, it's from 1976, and I don't think I've heard it since the 70s came to an end. I don't think I've ever heard it, but I remember when it was on the radio a lot. Frederick Franchi, hopefully I've said that right again, writes, This is an easy one for me. Waiting for a Girl Like You by Foreigner. I remember telling a young lady, for me, this song was about her. Well, that's what I felt that at the time. That's my choice. And Frederick, she sounds like she was worthy of the song. Would have liked to have met her myself. Don't take that the wrong way. Then J.M. here, he writes, My favorite song is Let's Go Away for a While by the Beach Boys. It's an instrumental, but it's amazingly beautiful musically. It perfectly encapsulates the feeling of meeting someone, flirting, the first kiss, and falling in love. And Jay, you really helped me hear this song in a whole new light. Now, when I listen to this song, there's a movie that plays in my head. And your comment has supplied the visuals for that movie. Hopefully I say this right here. Rutowski writes, We All Fall in Love Sometimes by Elton John. And why? I guess the song title says it all. Beautiful lyrics about a platonic brotherly love and a gorgeous melody from Elton's best studio album. And this is one of my favorite Elton tracks too. It's one of my favorite deep cuts. And it's from what is probably my favorite Elton album of all time as well. Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy. When I listened to this song, and I bought this album back when it came out in the 70s, and it's, like I said before, one of my favorites. But when I listened to it, I wouldn't accept at that time that it was about platonic love, and changed it to fit my own melancholy feelings about romantic love at that time. And I think that's something that's perfectly fine in music. You know, a songwriter may have one intent, but you can listen to it and you can put your own experience and feelings onto it and let it speak to your own experience, even though that experience might be different. And that's what I did at the time and still do to this day. That song will always remind me of that time in my life. Randy Kirby writes, Used to Love Her by Guns N' Roses. Randy, I'm sure you were just kidding. And I'm just kidding when I say that. I hope you were kidding. The Christian 0515 writes, Elton John's Your Song. Easily one of the greatest songs ever written, period. It's just a perfect song all the way around. And Journey's Faithfully. Another perfect song, gorgeous piano playing, heartfelt lyrics, and a powerful vocal performance by Steve Perry. Well, once again, no argument with me about your song, Elton John. Probably one of the greatest love songs ever. so perfect in its innocence. Faithfully, definitely I agree with you. Gorgeous piano playing, heartfelt lyrics, powerful performance by Steve Perry. Even though I'm not a huge Journey fan, I certainly feel those things. But I'll be honest, I never, like, how shall I say, got Faithfully when it was first out on radio. But I'll tell you this, the Christian 0515, no one has to agree with your choices but you. And so I want to thank you for sharing them. Lars Borch Nielsen writes, The Way We Were by Barbra Streisand, How Deep Is Your Love by the Bee Gees. I like the Bee Gees song, How Deep Is Your Love. I think it's a very good song. The Way We Were by Barbra Streisand, I want to talk about that. There are two versions of this song. There's, of course, the soundtrack version from the movie, and then there's the more modern studio album version, which bears the title of that song as the title of the album. For me, it's the soundtrack version. I'm not too sure I care for that studio version, the album version, but the soundtrack version, very beautiful. And now, Joe Postov writes, Herb Alpert, This Guy's in Love with You. He writes, This is a non-singer who has a nice voice, but not extraordinary, making his plaintive case to one woman for one man. I like Herb well enough, but I love this song and never get enough of it. And he then writes, also Lee Hazelwood and Nancy Sinatra, Some Velvet Morning. This unique song, not really anything like it, so alluring, mysterious, even dark, so different and beautiful. The Daily Telegraph called the song one of the strangest, druggiest, most darkly sexual songs ever written. Ambitious, beautiful, and unforgettable. It's the only psychedelic cowboy love song. Not sure if it's the only psychedelic cowboy love song, but for now, I'll take your word for it. Though I had never heard either of these, or at least I thought I'd never heard of them. Your description, Joe Postov, got me to check it out. And it turns out that I have heard the Herb Alpert tune. I just hadn't heard it in so long that I had forgotten that it existed. And, you know, when you haven't heard a song in that length of time, and you've literally forgotten that it ever existed, when you do hear it again, it's absolute magic. So thank you for bringing that song back into my life. And thank you for giving just this brief moment of magic. I really appreciate it. Bob's Place writes, Here, There, and Everywhere by the Beatles on the album Revolver. Can't Help Falling in Love by Elvis on the album Blue Hawaii. Both songs say everything I'd ever want to say to the one I love. And of course, Bob, you know, of course, that your first pick scored the highest. Your second pick didn't score the highest, but it definitely scored. And all I'll add is just a big thumbs up. You know, those are both just great songs. Jazzy Jimmy V writes, Hey TJR, best love songs for me are 1, My Love by Paul McCartney from Red Rose Speedway, 2, My Funny Valentine by Frank Sinatra from the movie Pal Joey. This song was written by Rodgers and Hammerstein. There Are Dozens, but You Wanted To. Great video. See ya. Jazzy Jimmy, you could have mentioned more if you'd wanted to, but you know, for the sake of this video, I would have only looked at the first 2 as far as counting votes. And I will say great picks from you. If you get the chance, check out the Ricky Lee Jones version of My Funny Valentine from the EP entitled Girl at Her Volcano. You can stream that on, you know, Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, whatever streaming service you might subscribe to. Nori Clark writes, Elvis Presley, Can't Help Falling in Love from Blue Hawaii soundtrack album 1961, a sublime vocal from Elvis, and a real feel-good tune, simple but effective. And of course, this is another comment for another vote for Can't Help Falling in Love. Nori, I agree. I still can't get over how well this simple recording with a very simple arrangement and simple lyrics can be so effective at just hitting the sweet spot of your soul. And thanks for bringing that up. Even or Something writes, Something by the Beatles. It's one of the most perfect love songs. No songs of all time. There are no words to describe it. Anyways, Evan or something. Yeah, I can't really add anything more to that. And once again, Frank Sinatra said that he thought it was one of the greatest love songs ever. Eric Z writes, if I had to use two top songs, I choose these songs along with some honorable mentions. My top two love songs, The Righteous Brothers, Unchained Melody. I think it's just a classic that has stood the test of time, has had several revivals. Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You, from the Bodyguard soundtrack, 1992. I choose this version because of her vocal. He writes Prausc. I think you mean prowess. I think that's what you're saying. Whenever I hear this song, once again, I'm inserting words where I think is what you meant, I still get hair standing on my arms. My honorable mentions are Minnie Riperton, Lovin' You, Jefferson Starship, Miracles. Eric Z, Unchained Melody, a classic. Absolutely. As for the Whitney Houston track, I used to think I was too cool for that song. Now that I've gotten older, I realize that it was just me that wasn't cool. And also, I want to mention Lovin' You by Minnie Riperton is a real favorite of mine. It was one of those love songs that came along at just the right time in my life. And it reminds me of a very specific time in my life. For that reason, it holds a very special place for me. Minnie Riperton died too young. Second to last comment I'm going to bring here. Michael Nolan wrote, TJR, I've only one, but I strongly advise you to listen to it and its lyric. Like you, I am a strong R&R fan, meaning rock and roll, but I also enjoy good pop, especially when it leaps into the territory of true art. The Beatles did this many times, but the greatest love song, my favorite love song, after 65 years on the planet, The Story, tells us that love is what makes our pain worthwhile, and that we carry our pain for those we truly love. Check it out. I read that comment and I responded to him, who is the song by? Because he didn't tell me. And I haven't heard a response yet, so hopefully, Michael, if you're watching this video, please tell me who this song is by. I did do a search for it on Tidal. I did find a song called The Story by Brandi Carlile. Perhaps that's the one you're referring to. I noticed it's one she didn't write, so maybe she covered it from someone else, but let me know. I would appreciate it. Finally, the last comment that I'm going to bring up here, and it was a favorite. Fatima writes, I personally believe that the greatest songs about love weren't and wouldn't be written. You can't describe the feeling of love in all its form by words in a few minutes. At least this is what I, and then it says a 16-year-old crossed out, think, though I'm excited to see your video. Fatima, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it has been enjoyable for you. And when I think about your comment, as I respond, I feel like B.B. King talking to Bono in the movie Rattle and Hum. When I say, you're awfully young to be having such deep thoughts. If you've ever seen the movie, you'll get that. But seriously, I agree. I don't know if any love song will ever be able to describe the depth, the power, the feeling of love in all its forms in just a few minutes. But as human beings, we have to keep trying. Sometimes it's the journey more than the destination. Fatima, thank you for that comment. I loved it. It was wonderful. So those are all the comments I'm going to bring up here. There were many more. Please, if you get a chance, read them all. When you look at a video like the one I've made today, or you hear about a list like this, top whatever songs of all time, and read the comments and hear everybody discuss their favorites, I hope that it inspires you to take a little time to check out some of the tracks that you might not be familiar with, or rediscover tracks you might have dismissed at an earlier age. It's a really fun way to spend a couple of hours in the evening, especially, now that we have streaming services, we have YouTube, and you can pretty much look up any song. and play it. Because of your comments, I discovered new tracks and rediscovered tracks I'd forgotten. I went and read Minnie Riperton's bio and saved one of her albums into my favorites to check out later. You know, these types of lists, best of whatever, really can be used to enjoy a couple hours of musical journey, of discovery and rediscovery. So I welcome you to do that, because that's what I did. That's what your comments did for me, and I had a great time doing it. I want to thank everybody for sharing their favorite love songs of all time. If you want to mention yours, if you didn't initially, feel free to do so. If you want to talk about other songs that you have thought about since the first time you made comments on the original video or my post, please do. And if reading the comments in the first video made you discover some stuff, please mention that also. And everybody, thank you for watching this video. As always, if you like what I'm doing, be sure to click a like, click subscribe, smash that bell notification icon. I do want to thank my patron supporters who are helping me to make more videos. And if you'd like to become a patron supporter, please go to patreon.com/TJRTheOriginal. Patron supporters receive early access to select videos and exclusive behind-the-scenes content available nowhere else. And everybody, thank you for watching. Happy Valentine's Day. Hope you can spend it. I hope you can spend it with someone you love. And y'all take care. Hope you all stay safe and healthy.